Will Smith, well, he's publicly apologised overnight for that slap that he gave to Chris Rock at the Oscars. Story that, would you believe, still making headlines around the world. Ross joins us from Los Angeles. So we weren't expecting an apology. He certainly delivered it. What did he actually say, Ross?
Well, I'll come to that in just a second, Lorraine. I've actually just come from dinner with one of the members of the Academy who was actually in the room. And it's very interesting to hear their side of things and what happened in the room. So, obviously, there we were at the Oscars, everything going pretty well. Chris Rock made a gag. It was a lame gag. We hear he didn't know that Jada Pinkett was suffering from alopecia. He made this lame joke about, oh, get ready for G.I. Jane 2 because her head was shaved a bit like Demi Moore was in the original. Now, when he made that joke, even though on TV when we heard it, and I was at the Vanity Fair party and we saw it on the screen there, we heard laughs. I was told that there weren't that many laughs in the room. Obviously, this is just the stick-on laughter, a laugh track. So there's not as many laughs in the room. There were a lot of groans. Now, obviously, we saw the picture where Will laughed initially, and then we saw Jada roll her eyes. And then the crowd reaction, they said, almost felt like it made him, move to do something. The slap was heard all round the room. It was that loud, and people were saying that they felt actually unsafe. And then when Will started screaming the obscenities, which again, that were all bleeped out here, but of course, if you watch the Japanese version or you watch the Australian version, you heard the obscenities of him screaming out. And the atmosphere in the room just went absolutely cold. Now, also then, when Will had his nomination read out, there were boos in the room as well. Again, we didn't hear that on television. And also when he won, although some people stood, there were some boos then as well. And of course, people were saying if anyone else had gone on stage and done what he did, then they would have been marched out of the whole place. Members of the board of the Academy were in different areas in the room, so they weren't there collectively to make a decision to say whether or not to take him out the room. Right. And then, of course, as we know, then the next award, which went to Questlove for his brilliant documentary, people just weren't paying attention at all. Now, let's get to Will's
Ross, that's
apology. That's a little bit of...
We didn't know any of that, so for you to bring what it was actually like, that's so interesting, so interesting. So, yes, he has apologised as was expected, and he kind of had to.
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly had to. He said, violence in all of its forms is poisonous, destructive. Jokes at my expense are part of the job. A joke about Jada's medical condition, too much for me to bear. I reacted emotionally. I'd like to publicly apologise to you, Chris. I was out of line. I was wrong. I'm embarrassed. My actions were not indicative of the man that I want to be. I'm a work in progress. And Will's 85-year-old mum, Caroline, was watching at home in Philadelphia, and she said it was the first time she'd ever seen him go off, as she described it. Also, my cameraman last night had filmed with Will just a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him after it, I said, were there any signs that he seemed uptight? And he said, no, he was just the Will that we've known and loved over the years. He was his usual wisecracking self, didn't seem to be in any other sort of mental state whatsoever, so that was interesting. Anyway, the Academy as well, they've come out with their statement saying they condemn the actions of Will, adding, we have officially started a formal review around the incident. We'll explore further action and consequences in accordance with our bylaws, standards of conduct and California law. And they're going to meet tomorrow. And I was hearing from, as I said, that member of the Academy that I had dinner with, that they are going to meet tomorrow and a lot of actions will be discussed. The interesting thing is, what exactly can they do? Take away his membership, that's a possibility. They can take away his voting rights. They can say that he's not coming back next year to hand over the Oscar to whoever wins the Best Actor, which is normally what happens. Of course, there is talk. Can they take back the Oscar? The problem with that is then there's a lot of other people that will then come up and say, well, do we take away Harvey Weinstein's Oscar from before? Indeed. There's a lot of things there.
Yes, they have given out Oscars to some incredibly unsavoury characters in the past, that's for sure. We asked if Will Smith should be stripped of his Oscar following that moment. Yes, there it is again. At this year's ceremony, 67% of you say no, he absolutely shouldn't. Ross is in Los Angeles for as well. Internet's still divided about this. Some people, Ross, are still thinking it was a stunt. I think you might have thought that until you saw Will Smith swearing, I think. But yeah, we said earlier, there's history, isn't there, between these two?
There certainly is. Just a couple of quick bits of fact. One is, the man who hasn't seen the movie King Richard so far, Lorraine, believe it or not, is King Richard himself, Richard
Really?
Williams. No
He's not
interest
seen
in
it?
seeing the movie whatsoever.
Very
How
cute.
strange is that? And yet, you know, the sisters had to see it to okay it, to lend their name to it. Yeah, and so much talk about this. Was it a fake as well? The word stage has been trending on Twitter. I spoke with a PR earlier on in the day, and it was a very interesting take that he gave me, because he did believe for quite a while that it possibly was staged, because at the end of the day he said, you know, Chris Rock has sold like $1 million extra of tickets for his tour. Will, who's now 53, has been looked at that he's not just as relevant. This makes some, you know, worldwide headlines. The ego of these people, they're both, you know, the biggest names at the moment. And, you know, it's crazy. You think what's going on in the world at the moment, and we're talking so much about this. But again, I spoke with the Academy. It was absolutely real. There was nothing fake about this at all. Anyway, let's go to the history between Chris Rock and Will Smith. Now, it goes back about 3 decades, because they were friendly at one point, believe it or not. Chris Rock even had a guest spot on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air many years ago. 2005 at the Kids' Choice Awards, Chris presented Will with the award for favourite voice in Shark Tale. Then Chris himself also starred in Madagascar alongside Jada Pinkett Smith, and then the three of them were seen at many events together as well. But the Oscars this time wasn't the first time that Chris has taken a swipe at Jada and Will. I think I mentioned this to you when I was on the red carpet at Vanity Fair. If you go back to 2016, that was the year of the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. Jada had decided that she was going to boycott the event. Will himself wasn't nominated that time for concussion.
No, okay, yeah, there's quite a history, as you have said. You know, you talked about Will Smith's career. Will this have in any way a negative effect on his career, or Hollywood being the crazy place that it is, will this actually do him a bit of good?
It's a similar conversation that you and I have had many times over the years. I hear at the moment there's a movie that may have dropped Will. That's unconfirmed at the moment, but I heard rumours of that earlier on today. It's been a very busy day. But as we've always said, if you can make money for this town... Oops, hello, someone just threw something at me. That was a bit weird. If you can make money for people in this town, then you know what? You get forgiven for a lot of things. But again, when you look back in this, and it's interesting for me because, you know, you're there at the Vanity Fair party, you're kind of trying to see what's going on. You know, we were seeing snippets of it. Then you were looking at the feed from Australia, the feed from Japan, and you look at it and you do want to have that conversation and just say, what the heck were you thinking? It's just, you know, and the obscenities, bizarre.
No, it was a very, very strange evening. Overshadowed everything, didn't it? But there were other things that happened at the Oscars that were a bit more positive.
Yeah, well, apart from people making history, like Troy, you know, for Coda, and then Ariana DeBose winning as well and creating history. But you may have seen, if you did actually watch it, Jamie Lee Curtis came out and she was paying tribute to the wonderful the late Betty White. Now, Betty White was such a lovely lady. She had a big thing about animal rights. She just dedicated so much of her life to animal rights and charities. And Jamie Lee came on and she brought out a little dog called Mac and Cheese, which is actually up for adoption. It now has a home. And how about this for a home? It's John Travolta. He posted a pic alongside his 11-year-old son, Ben, holding Mac and Cheese. So there we are. How about that?
Oh, that's so sweet.
Congratulations.
Maybe
what a lovely, magical ending.
Yeah, it's good. Maybe all the people that come out on the Oscars, Ross, should just hold a puppy, because no incident would ever happen. Can you imagine? Will Smith wouldn't have bopped him and you know, slapped him in the puss if he'd had a wee puppy in his hand. That's the way ahead. Can you know people in the Academy? Can you sort that out? Just give them a puppy.
Absolutely.
Give them a puppy. Exactly. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub, and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.